Well, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Staff Stories. My name is Sarah. I get to be the Associate Director of Calvary Young Adults here at Calvary Westlake. And today I have a special guest. This is Connor Johnson. He is our Pastor and Director of our middle school ministry. So Connor, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
Well, can you tell us a little bit of how middle school is going, what's going on with our middle schoolers, and maybe why you're not wearing a middle school shirt?
Okay, Sarah, how to bring it up. So early, I was wearing an MSM shirt on the way here, had some Chick-fil-A, spilled the Chick-fil-A sauce all over, and luckily Steven is so classic, right? Steven was a blessing to me in giving me a Camp Boost shirt. So I'm repping Camp Boost.
Yikes.
Love it. But so middle school ministry is really picking up this week. So we'll be meeting twice on campus each week. So Wednesday nights are our large group gathering worship services starting October 14th. And that will be at 7 p.m. to 8:15. So that's just our typical worship service together. And then on Sunday evenings is what we call, is our Calvary Middle School small groups. We call them tribes, but it's just small group ministry. And so those are meeting during the high school service. But while high schoolers are worshiping large group, we're small groups throughout the church. And so we're sitting outside with some lawn chairs and masks and Bibles. And so, we're picking up those and kind of continuing with that as well as some video supplements that people who aren't yet comfortable being able to come to campus yet. And so those kind of two main things we're plugging along with as fall really picks up. So yeah,
it's exciting. I feel like there's a lot going on campus, and now online there's all these resources. But if someone's watching and has a middle schooler, like what's the best way for them to like plug into ministry or into small groups?
Great question. So I would say a lot of different options. You can just show up and come and talk to me or any of our staff members or volunteers that are typically wearing MSM shirts on a Wednesday or Sunday. You can sign up for tribes, but if you forget to sign up and you want to come on a Sunday, just show up anyways, and we have someone ready to kind of point you to, seventh grade boy, you'll be in this group over here. Or just send me an email or check out the website, calvarywestlake.org/middle-school. Or just
important
you can click around until you find the page. So
yes, our website is a little easier to navigate now, and we're really excited about that. But that's awesome. We love middle school. We also love Camp Boost, so we love that you're here.
Shout out.
All right, so kind of the first question that we've been asking people. Love it. 3 words to describe your experience during COVID season.
Yeah, I feel like I was thinking about this. 3 words, 7 months. That's a big question. It's a big cue. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat on a couple of these questions. Here's my first cheating answer.
Go for it.
I'm going to give 4 words, but one of them's like a double. So the first word.
We'll assess and see if it qualifies.
See if I get a penalty. Right. My first word is pressure cooker.
Ooh, okay.
So
an Instapot?
Yes, just like an Instapot.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cooking with it all the time. So pressure cooker. I just feel like life has been like amplified. And so what I mean by that is some of the things I was thinking about is, my flaws in a lot of different areas of life. So I think in my work, in my role here at Calvary and being able to lead and to love students and be a minister of the gospel and stuff, some of my flaws have been, I feel like, accentuated when I've been stuck at home.
I feel that, yes.
Yeah. And then, even like my flaws with me and my wife, Jess, as we're at home, we're in a,
she's perfect, so it has to be.
She's perfect, and it has accentuated her perfection. And it's I feel like just been a pressure cooker on like, dang, these are some of the things that maybe we have talked about, but some of the things that we haven't, we're going to talk about them now.
Yes, there's nowhere else to turn or ways to escape.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's been a pressure cooker with that, but I think also even with like some of the good things, and being able to, talking about, I think for many of us, we think of quarantine and just think of our family who's in our home. Yes. So for me, it's just me and my wife, no kids. Major cheat code for 2020, by the way. Just if I have any advice to survive quarantine, and if you could play this to someone in 2018, I'd say just don't have kids. Just wait. Wait. It's
I'm
cheat
there.
code.
I heard your cheat code, and I said.
So no, total cheat code. But it's really been able to, I think, pressure cook in a way the things that we love to be able to do together. There's now we have the time, we have the capacity. Let's really sharing these things that we love doing together, and that's I think accentuated just as much as like our flaws or some of our frictions, but also the like, man, this has been super fun. Especially I think week like 2 or 3 was prime, like at first it was kind of like, whoa, like kind of vacation.
Very
it
novel.
wasn't a vacation, but like, we're home, woohoo,
Sure,
it's crazy.
yeah.
And by week 3, it was like, okay, like, it seems to be normal. Like, maybe we've done it in a month. It's a good joke. Who knows when it's all going to be over.
I remember when they said 2 weeks and we all bought all the toilet paper.
Oh my gosh, those were the days. That's the quarantine I miss. And so that's my first word: pressure cooker.
Okay,
Just
we'll let it pass.
Amplifying. Thank you.
We'll let it pass.
Okay.
You may continue.
Perfect. So I think the second word, I don't know if this is the best word for it, so I'll try to explain it. I think liberating. I think liberating in that, I think for me, and I know for many people, it's caused me to like pause and really think about, okay, how am I allocating my time?
Oh, yes.
What am I pouring my heart, my resources into?
Yeah.
And what are these systems that I've had in place for so long? And now that the systems have been pulled back, or the structures in my life have been pulled back, okay, now I have this, it's almost liberating to kind of go, okay, once we get back to normal, which goofy phrase, the new normal, or whatever life is going to look like. Okay, now it was almost freeing feeling to kind of go, okay, man, I used to do this a lot, and that was not. I've realized that hasn't been very important for me in this time. I don't need to spend that time into that. So I feel like liberating with maybe the amount of time that I put into things, the amount of like emotional energy I give.
Mental, emotional real estate that's being taken up.
Yes, real estate. That's a good word. So yeah, I think liberating to kind of, as things got pulled back, to go, okay, what am I going to do to fill my life, fill my structures again? So liberating.
Good. Yeah.
So, and then my last one, hard.
Ooh.
Not much of an explanation. It's just like, dang.
Yeah.
This stinks.
Yeah.
And there's been like ups and downs, and some things have been really wonderful. But man, it's been hard. And so
I don't think anyone will argue with that at all.
Don't need to argue it. Need to explain it. It's just been hard.
Yeah, no, that's good. So. And that's great because these next couple questions will actually help unpack all of your answers, which thank you. We love the creativity. For those of you going in the future, you're welcome to get creative with your words. But okay, so kind of going back to like you're saying this liberating feeling or the good things coming from the pressure cooker. Where have you seen an area in your life of like refinement or improvement or like a changed perspective that you see positively in yourself personally?
Yeah, good question. I think there's probably a lot of people could say to this. This one is more maybe recent to me, so that's why it just is on my mind. I think for the viewers, but Sarah and I were both in seminary, and so I know me and you talk about our seminary journey often, but I was in a class 2 weeks ago, this lecture from Gary Brashears, the man, he's a legend. And it was about marriage, and it was about role of wives. And one of the things that he just talked about to begin this conversation of a husband is someone who takes responsibility. And for some reason, that just like really stuck with me. And I think I've been thinking about that a lot recently, of going, man, I need to be a man who takes responsibility. And I think with taken out of context, that can seem like really worldly. It could seem very like
you, independent.
Yeah, and it's like obviously it's a reliance on the Spirit to guide me, to conform me more and more each day to the image of the Son, to the image of Jesus. Like absolutely, but I think there's a biblical precedent for just taking responsibility. I think even of how much Paul and New Testament focuses on confession of sins.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, confession of sins is this recognition of God has taken care of this. Jesus paid for this penalty, but I have responsibility for the things I've done, and I need to confess those. And so I think, I don't know, that's been the one thing, maybe more in the last few weeks, just thinking a lot about, man, I need to take responsibility, especially even as talking about structures being pulled back and these systems I kind of had in place. You get home and you're just sitting there, and I don't have a desk at my house, I'm on the couch, kicking my feet up and hanging out, and it's like, man, I need to take responsibility for the decisions I make. There's not these natural
like checks and balances almost that
checks and balances. I was gonna say accountability, but that's not the word. Just like structures, even with office stuff and work stuff, but also just life things and talking with people. I don't know. I feel like when you're just in the offices and you're just hanging out with people all the time, you're constantly checking in with friends and seeing how they're doing. You're able to process things more. And so without those, it's like, man, I still need to take responsibility for the decisions I'm making, for the things I have done or I'm wanting to do, or what I want my life to look like. So taking responsibility.
Dang.
That's my one.
That's profound. And I think you hit on something really cool of like, we're like responsible to our relationship with God and others.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that like your life does have impact and effect, even if you feel like you're in solitude or isolation, which there's health and unhealth in both those things. But I like that. That's
and obviously I think that could be taken either worldly or even hyper Christian, legalistic in this like, oh, I need to earn this. It's like, no, that's not the perspective. It's perspective of Jesus and saying, man, I still have responsibility for my life though.
He gives us ownership as a part of being made in his image.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Yeah, it's one of those first things that Adam is, he's given roles and tasks and Eve in the garden, and that's before the fall. And I think when I forget that, suddenly I actually don't find as much value in my work or value in my relationships. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm meant to rule. I'm meant to like have ownership over this and also face consequence for these things. Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that though. Taking responsibility is part of your purpose too. That's good. That's a good angle. Cool.
You got it. You're hitting on it. That's awesome though. I think that's a unique answer. I haven't heard that yet. And kind of on the other side of the coin, I know you ended with the word hard, which again, I think, yes, ditto. This season has been hard. Has there been anything in particular that's just been challenging or maybe even disappointing about this past season?
Okay. I'm going to look at my notes.
I
forget what I was going to say.
I am pro preparation, so thank you for being
proactive. Here's the other question I was going to cheat on. Here's the other question I was going to cheat on. So
perfect.
I feel like it's reading between the lines. This is what you're asking, but I'm going to change the question you asked. So is
the interviewee becomes the interviewer. Let's do it.
We didn't talk about this before. So I am going to say I think people listening and watching understand this part of it. It's like, what's my biggest struggle that I'm willing to be talking about to the masses? You know, because I don't want to be here and go, this is my biggest struggle, and someone go like, that's like the hardest part. It's like, okay, no, this is the biggest stuff that I'm like willing, I feel like maybe to talk about. But I think that's obviously understood. So, but I just wanted to clarify.
No,
it's like this is my biggest issue. So I think the biggest thing that's been really like unanimously hard about the last 7 months is like classic millennials, here we go. I'm a 7, wing 7. Like I'm a 14 on the Enneagram.
I can attest to that.
So
it's fantastic.
So for non-Enneagram people, I just love people. I'm super extroverted, and I think that's just been really hard. Especially now that things have started to pick up, and I'm able to come do things like this or middle school ministry. We have small groups, just like life giving, and my own personal small group is life giving, and so. But before that, not being with people was like. And
shots fired,
it's just calling old friends from college, like, I haven't talked to you, what's going on? Like, I'm gonna call 3 people tonight or whatever.
Totally,
And so, but definitely like the lack of being like fueled by people has been difficult for me. I think that's been something I've been for sure struggling with. But also, I forget if I was thinking about this verse in Psalm 90:14. We talked on it a couple weeks ago. Hope for a heavy heart. On
loneliness, anxiety, depression. Was it the first one?
No, I think it was depression. I think it was this last week. I think it was on depression. I was talking about Psalm 90:14. I don't know if this is going to be on one of my other answers, but it relates to the being with people part. Is that Psalm 90:14? I love it. It's like life-changing for me, and it has been since I was in college when I was reading it. It was written by Moses. Shout out Moses, wrote a psalm.
Don't you love those nuggets where you're like, wow.
He's like writing poetry on Mount Sinai. It's like, what? This guy does it all.
What a man.
So I had no idea Moses wrote a psalm until like a few years ago. I was like, what? Anyway, sorry. Wow, distraction.
Seminarians. No, that we love the fun facts. Factoids.
So Psalm 90:14 says to Moses is crying out. He's saying, satisfy me in the morning through steadfast love that I would rejoice and be glad all of your days. And it's this beautiful reminder to me. It's very centering to me of the gospel. It's very centering to understand that he is saying, satisfy me with your love. And that's his driving force to rejoice. That's his driving force to be happy. And so there's these moments where maybe I have felt, whether it's depression, talking about this last week of hope for a heavy heart, or, whatever emotions, sadness, not feeling joy. And sometimes I know my flaw is I seek that in people. I seek, I'm going to rejoice and be glad because I'm going to hang out with some friends tomorrow. I'm going to rejoice and be glad because we have a small group tonight. I'm going to rejoice and be glad for X, Y, Z. Totally. And so that's been something that's really hard, but I think really sharpening to me as I've reminded myself, even this last week, man, satisfaction. I rejoice and I be glad in God's steadfast love and not in whatever else I try to fill it with. And so, but that's definitely been the hardest part for me is just being not as able to be with people and just playing board games or whatever and hanging out. And so,
I love that. And I think it hits on what you're saying, even in the pressure cooker of like, it brings us back to first things first. Yeah. And I totally relate to that I'm an introvert. I'm a 2-wing 3. So I love people, but I love to help people. And then I'm usually like, okay, bye, I'm going to go read a book for 4 hours. But I think that is such a beautiful thing about the Lord is he allows for certain seasons that are like particular to you. Like that's intimate to your life to refine us, to bring us back to a deeper satisfaction. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's seasons where I'm so busy, I almost stop believing that God can satisfy us in that way. Or like in his presence, there's abundance of joy. And like, man, to actually live that out, it can be so hard to actually face it for the first time. Yeah. But then come back to it, it's like that recentering. I think that's a beautiful word. Yeah. On that. But speaking of the Lord, which we have been.
Hopefully.
Jesus. Hey. What do you feel like, in particular to maybe the character of God or the character of Christ, the Holy Spirit? What is something you feel like you're learning about God through this season?
Yeah, man. All my answers are so framed in the last week. I feel like of
that's
things,
okay.
But that's life. That's life, right? So
a hot take, fresh off the press.
That's awesome. So I think for me, here we go. Super, just like churchy. God answers prayers.
Wow.
And it's like that's it.
Beautiful and profound.
You know, and like I can just like sit in that. And it's like, man, God answers prayers, and it's like he does. You know, like how many sermons have we heard? You grew up in church. I grew up in church. Yes. How many sermons have I heard? How many times have I given a sermon talking God answers prayers?
Preach,
absolutely.
Yes.
Do I believe that? Yeah. Yes. Have I just felt this new refreshment of that understanding in my life? And I think of what is it? Romans 8. It's Romans 8 somewhere. I think it's 28, but I could be wrong on that. But like, God works through all things. God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. It's like Awana. If you're a kid and you're coming to church, boom, you're memorizing Psalm 8:20 Romans 8:28, I think. And so,
no, you're right.
Yeah, it's like, man, I've thought about that a lot, in that I've prayed a lot, and sometimes I think all of us consistently. I hope it's not just me. Are faced with the reality of saying, man, I've prayed for this and this something else has happened. Does God not answer prayer? It's like our like finite minds start to like lock with that. And so I also, so Tim Mackey is this theologian I love. Shout out Bible Project. You can watch those videos all day and learn so much. And so he describes Genesis 1 and 2 in this really particular way really often. It's struck me in the last few years. He describes how we think of the fall of Adam, being tempted, Adam and Eve were tempted by Satan. They eat from the tree, and that's the sin. It's like, yes, that's it. But Tim Mackey always puts this phrase around it. It says that man in that moment wanted to define good and evil how they wanted. Wow. So there's this there's this knowledge of good and evil, and it's like God's like, hey, trust me on this, and man's like, I want that. And then from there's this moment of instant shame. God has said it's been good for us to be like so intimate. Yes. As weird as that might be, like naked in our presence. I'm with you, you're with me.
Like together.
And working together. And then from that moment, Adam and Eve take this, and then shame enters the world, and they go, oh, I'm going to say that good is covering up, is hiding myself from being another super millennial word, authentic.
Or fully known.
We're fully known. And so I thought about how just wrestling through some prayers that I've prayed and going, man, why is God doing something that I haven't specifically asked for? Yes. And thinking about, but what about Romans 8:28? God works through all things for my good. And it's so easy for me to fall in the lineage of Adam and Eve and go, man, I'm redefining that word good. He works for the good. And often me, in my mind, I think for the good that I've defined for myself rather than for what God has defined for me. Yes. And so it's just been, I think in the last 3-4 days particular, just man, God answers prayers. Yes. And it's for the good that he has defined for my life, not the good that I have defined. And that's so frustrating, but it's so good. And so, I don't know, that's like the main thing. Really just the last few days, man, like God answers prayers. And it's so simple, but it's so true and it's so good. And it's a good reminder that I've experienced in my life. So.
I think I love what you said, because I think it's a revelation of like, I want to know God more. Like Tozer talks about, like, Lord, at whatever cost, the loss of friends, like tragedy, like whatever it is in my life that might feel like you're taking from me, I want to know you as you are so I can adore you as I should. And that just like, that's something that I feel like Lord's been hitting me with too. Just like, God, I want to know your character as you define it, so that I have eyes to see you in the world and praise you as you are, instead of these things. Because like, I think I break my own heart over certain prayers where I'm so fixated on the content versus the one who I'm talking to. So I think that's profound, and like how much more exciting, because now you're like, oh wait, God is answering prayers all the time. All the time. And I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing, is there like a prayer that you feel like he's answered that has like brought to you, like whether it's big or small? And you can say no.
She threw me a curveball.
You threw me a couple curveballs.
You gave me 5 questions. This is 6.
I said 3 words. I said 3 words. You went for more. With an F.
All right. No, I know. I totally can answer that. So that's so funny. I think so for me. On just last week, about to eat some dinner with me, Jess, my wife, and she, I was like, hey, do you want to pray? I asked her to pray, and her prayer was, it was really beautiful. It was like one of those short, quick ones, but it's just like, it's good where, it's like, okay, I want you, Lord, and I want your presence, and I want to be aware and seeking after you, but like, I'm not. And so it's like, we were both feeling that for a little bit, going, man, what? And so she prayed, God, would you help us to want you, and it was like, we want to have a desire in our hearts that's like burning to desire Christ. And so she prayed that, and it was over dinner. We, ate some food, and then just like an hour or so later had one of the best conversations we've had in just so long. And it was good. And, we reflected, even like in the midst of the conversation, it was like, you just prayed this, we're like, we didn't even,
here we are.
It's like, you kind of like throw up a prayer. You're like, oh, like, God, do this, move on, and then to have something that was like, boom, like that right there, that night in our conversations, to be able to go, man, we desire Christ, and we desire Christ in personally, in our marriage, in our unity. And so, it's just like sparked this like newness of, and I don't need to get into all the details of all that, but I think that was one of the things I'm thinking.
I love it. No, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's so true. And I think, not that there's certain prayers that the Lord like loves and will answer it all the time, but like to be like, God, like, I want you. He doesn't withhold from us in that way. And I think that's just like, if you want your faith stirred, just be like, God, like, you will take care of all the details. You're not going to ignore the other very specific desires, but like, we're told to delight in the Lord, like in Psalm 34, like delight in him, like that is what we're called to do. So I love that. Well, last question. We're wrapping up here.
Question number 6.
Hey,
you sent me
just
5.
ran now, right here. Maybe I have a 7th. Who knows? Last question would be, out of this season, I know we're not done, and I know like press revelation all the time. Sorry guys, we just moved in Ventura to our bride of faith.
I deem coronavirus
done.
over.
That's how it works.
It's done.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I interrupted.
It's okay. So forward thinking, let's just call it a season where Corona is not the most salient thing that's controlling, like our lives or community. What would you want to take from this time so far? Like a rhythm or a habit, or even just a simple joy that you want to move forward out of this with, once we're like, Corona is a thing of the past, or at least it's something that's not in the forefront of our minds.
I wasn't able to think through this one too much. So, final answer, washing my hands for 20 seconds.
Happy birthday to all
Hand
of us.
sanitizer everywhere. Oh, I hope not. We probably should.
Dry hands.
Oh my gosh. Lotion companies, I bet, are just
glad we're
on
not
the
shaking
rise.
hands right now.
On the rise.
Grody.
Yeah, invest in Johnson & Johnson. I feel like they make lotion. I don't know.
No relation.
What was the question? Habits that I want to take? I feel like there's a lot of stuff I could reiterate what I've already talked about. So going back, maybe this. So like in the beginning of quarantine, I feel like empathy was like an all-time high, of people to just community, or like it was like March 30th and we were like, oh my gosh, reach out to your friends, and like we're having like all the phone
Zoom
calls.
Dinner. We did a few Zoom parties. Yes.
Zoom party dinners, all the phone calls, all the checking in on family members, introducing yourself to the neighbor that you've never talked to before. And it's like, oh, I gotta, stand with my community. Yeah. And then, which is great, and I think that's the thing that I think is really has already kind of gone back to normal. It was this, I think tragedy happens, and our community is not new to tragedy in the last few years. There's this like spike of empathy, there's a spike of togetherness, unity. And after a while, it starts to kind of just like fizzle down, especially now we're under the pressure cooker of an election coming up in a few weeks. And what were you going to say?
I just said, what a year.
I thought you were going to be like, who are you voting for? Can you imagine?
That's my 7th question. Yes. On next week edition. Can you?
Oh, that's awesome. But
you can direct message him. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, please, just a flood of emails would be wonderful. So, no, final answer, just like getting back to that sense of empathy that we had.
Yes.
Just like looking out for people at the grocery stores and your neighbors and your friends. Yeah. And thinking about family members maybe you've missed in contact with. And so maybe that's it, that renewed like desire that, man, everyone's going through something difficult. And sure, on paper, mine might be 10 times harder than theirs. But if they're still struggling and they're still in pain, like we can still reach out and love them well. And so
absolutely, I
don't know, maybe that's it. Maybe that's like already something I need to work, get back to and start thinking through again is what does it look like to have the empathy of March 30th, 2020 in my life.
The empathy of March 30th.
In October, whatever. So that's my final answer.
Okay, we will accept it. But I think that's great. And it's good to, I think, just continually reflect on, like, anytime you're doing something, maybe for the first time or like a fresh revelation of community, to say, all right, what are sustainable rhythms I can put into my life moving forward? Because I totally agree. Like, my roommates and I were like, we're going to bake everybody cookies once weird about
how many sourdough bread loaves were made in March and April.
I was just offered a starter last week, so the train it's still rolling.
It's still rolling. Okay.
But there's hope. Yeah. There's hope. There is totally hope. And I think the beautiful thing is, like, we need to like keep these conversations going, not just these particular questions, but what a privilege to go through a season that is hard and suffering for a lot of people, and we're on all points of that spectrum, but it's so communal. Like, to think about the entire world is impacted by this. It's going to be a conversation for the rest of our lives to say, do you remember what happened then, but also what did you take from that, and to like pay it forward and like continue to like take lessons from this year. So I will be coming by for a sourdough starter. Your mom invited me over to the ranch, so I'm coming for you. You better have it fresh next week.
I'll work on it.
Perfect. Well, Connor, thank you so much for sitting down with me. This was really fun and refreshing. So tune in next week for another staff story. And again, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.